All right, let's talk about the streaming battles and what's actually happening. So a couple of big stories right now that I want to cover on sort of woke culture and what's happening. First of all, we just got word just a few minutes ago that streaming, Netflix losing huge amounts of subscribers. Netflix shares cratering 24% after new earnings, saying it lost its subscribers for the first time in more than 10 years. So that's one little nugget.
Why? Why are people turning off Netflix? Why do you think that is?
I mean, it seems like, well, they say it's competition, right? So you have competition. They blame it on password sharing, which has been happening forever, by the way. People share their Netflix passwords and so forth. And they say the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine for stagnant subscriber growth.
What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. Like what? What does that have to do?
Because costs are up, and so people are trying to...
Look,
we
you
just
saturate.
blame Russia for everything now?
I know. Let's just blame Russia for everything. It's Putin. It's Putin's price hike. That's why people are not subscribing to
not
Netflix.
Watching Netflix.
Look, there's only so many people in the world, right? So how many, like, you can't keep adding at the clip of subscribers that you could for so many years. Like, so many, everyone has Netflix. At what point do you... And now there's competition. There's Disney Plus, there's Hulu, there's other things, there's Apple TV and so forth. Anyway.
I don't know. Maybe you just get, what do you think, Philip? You get tired of Netflix programming? You don't want to see the same stuff?
How do you get tired of Netflix? You can't reach the end of Netflix.
No, you can't.
You know, it's not like in the Never-Ending Story when you're trying to reach the everything and get to the end of it. There's always something there that's interesting to watch. But there's not something interesting to watch on CNN Plus. And breaking news this afternoon that this shitball of a streaming service that no one on this show thought was going to be successful. Is anyone in our chat actually think that CNN Plus, the streaming service that you pay whatever $5-6 a month for, so you could watch Brian Stelter talk about the media, or Anderson Cooper do a special, or Chris Wallace host a little dingus where he interviews 95-year-old people?
No.
No
but
one...
I have enough of those people just watching them on the regular. So I don't feel like I need more of those people.
Yeah, do you need like any more people?
But you know, the news media suffers from navel-gazing syndrome. And you and I both felt like that when we worked for the news. You know, you would sort of, what are you laughing at?
Grim in our chat says, CNN Plus is awesome. You're lying. That's fake news, Grim. You're not watching CNN Plus.
No, you know what? It's information. Let everyone else decide how they feel.
Barbara in our chat says CNN Plus would have to pay me to watch it. Yes.
Robert says I'll pay for CNN minus. But I think that what I was going to say is that, you know, we both have been on network news, and you gather this following, and it makes you think that people want more of you. So then you start to like let them in your life in different ways. It's very egomaniacal. And that's just how it works in the newsroom. And all of these producers are like, oh, everyone loves, you know, Matt Lauer.
Right.
So let's give them more of Matt. Let's put Matt in different situations. Let's let them see Matt in this kind of clothes.
Let's find out where in the world Matt is.
Fishing with a bear or whatever. Like you just get, that's just the inside of like a newsroom. That's how they think. Like they want more.
It's the Jeremy Renner app for CNN. Are you familiar with that?
No,
Jeremy
what's
Renner,
that?
the actor.
Yes, I know. He's from Milpitas.
Yeah, several years back, he created his own app, and it was just the Jeremy Renner app, like so that he could reach out to his fans, and it just ended up being an absolute debacle.
Like a joke.
Yeah, not as a joke, as a legitimate. It was a legitimate app you could download, and it was the Jeremy Renner app.
No, but I mean now it's a joke. No,
I think now it's gone. I'm not sure if it's still around, but it just it declined into just a big joke. It just ended up.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I believe that because there were people that reached out to me, like when I was a news anchor at Fox News, people were like, oh, you know, you should really have your own app. I'm like, what the hell? Like
for what? What more do you want from me?
Like is there something that you could get with the Clayton Morris app? I mean, that's why I have my OnlyFans account. Sorry, just kidding.
Yep, and it's just me and him in there. I'm the only subscriber.
Exactly, and I give Philip what he wants.
He takes COVID tests all the time.
Yeah,
he wears.
I do ASMR COVID tests.
He wears underwear fixed from N95 masks.
So CNN Plus is a pile of shit. And Axios has this scoop. CNN Plus looks doomed. Warner Brothers Discovery has suspended all external marketing spend for CNN Plus, has laid off CNN's longtime CFO as it weighs what to do with it moving forward. Now, you'll remember this pile of shit, they spent over $200 million in marketing to kick this thing off the ground. $200 million so that we could all sit back and watch Brian Stelter yuck it up.
You're cracking me up.
Thanks, Brian. But apparently no one wanted to see him do any sort of deeper takes on CNN Plus. No one wanted to watch this. They
Not after that smug disinformation bit that went viral last week, especially, right?
They had 17,000 subscribers. Think about that. Disney had millions within the first day. Millions of people downloaded Disney Plus.
Yeah.
In the first 24, 48 hours, 17,000 people downloaded CNN Plus. And that doesn't even mean they signed up for it. You can download the app and not even watch it.
Well, they're saying now that in the first few weeks of launch, they have only 150,000 subscribers total, which is
that is brutal.
More than we've got, or less than we've got by a long shot. And we're ex-news anchors, right? And
that's our new tag. More subscribers than CNN Plus.
Yes.
There we go.
So here's our channel. Let's go over to here's our channel on here's our Redacted channel. We're gonna change if you go to YouTube. This is this is youtube.com/redacted news is our channel. We have 638,000 subscribers here on our channel. That's was that five? I'm terrible at math.
Yeah,
is it like 5 times the amount
roughly
of CNN? Just a
little
FYI.
over 4 times.
Okay, a little over 4. I don't want to inflate our numbers, Philip. That's a little over 4 times.
And hey, if you're not subscribed, please do that. Hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing.
Please subscribe. Isn't that amazing?
It is, in fact, amazing. And it's amazing that this is doing so terribly. And, the future belongs to people who can leverage their platform. But CNN clearly cannot leverage its platform from just, traditional cable news into the digital era.
But you're being too kind. You're being too kind. You're talking about how they could have done better strategically, but they're a shit show. Who wants to watch these guys spread bullshit on television and then pay $5 or $6 a month for them to do it on a streaming service? You're being too kind.
Okay.
These guys, you want to talk about misinformation or disinformation? That's all these guys do is propaganda. So we want to watch segments where they bring on a former CIA head of whatever to continue to foment war.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
Brought to you by Pfizer. People are seeing through this shit left and right.
Sure. Yeah, they suck, but
you're being too kind.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
You're being too kind, aren't you?
Well, I don't want to impugn not knowing exactly why people don't want it.
You know why they don't want it.
Sure.
You know why they don't want this shit.
Because they're smug assholes. That's why.
Well, that's one reason. Now we're getting somewhere.
No, I mean CNN is full of smug assholes.
Yes. Now we're getting somewhere.
That's all I got.
No, come on. I know you can do more.
I told you they're navel gazers and they're conglomerate controlled, not have your best interest, smug assholes.
Now we're getting somewhere.
You're cracking me up.
Thank you, Brian.
All right.
We should also talk about Jon Stewart. So Jon Stewart's show, this one's not surprising at all. But again, I think this comes back to what's happening right now with the woke culture that we're seeing sort of taking over. We've talked about on this show before, if you go woke, you go broke, right? If you start to spin out this woke bullshit, your ratings suffer. No one's watching you, just like CNN Plus goes down the toilet and people are basically jumping ship right now 2 weeks after launching because people don't want to watch this crap. People don't want to watch where you get on the air and do a whole segment about how white people are terrible, which is basically what CNN did on their CNN Plus channel, right? So now Jon Stewart has basically done the same thing. Now, Jon Stewart, former host of The Daily Show, I love Jon Stewart. And I thought he was one of those guys who would always sort of call it like it is. He was not afraid to go after liberals. He would stand there and yell at conservatives. He would go after liberals. He went right up to Paul Begala's face on Crossfire and told Paul Begala and Tucker Carlson, Democrat, conservative, you're ruining America with this terrible show on CNN Crossfire a number of years ago. It was largely one of the reasons why Crossfire was canceled. He's a guy that got it, right? He's a guy that goes on Colbert and actually calls out the bullshit about what was happening in Wuhan. He had the balls to go on the air and actually say, this thing started in a lab. We have the evidence that this started in a lab. And watch how Stephen Colbert, who has gone full woke, tries to totally shoot him down. He's like a CBS patsy at this point. And Jon Stewart was like, didn't care. And we were all like, Jon Stewart, he's speaking truth, watch.
Attitude to science. Science has in many ways helped ease the suffering of this pandemic, which was more than likely caused by science.
There was a chance that this was created in a lab. There's an investigation.
A chance?
Well, but
oh my
if there was
God.
evidence, I'd love to hear it.
There's
I just don't know.
a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. What do we do? Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan novel respiratory coronavirus lab. The disease is the same name as the lab. That's just a little too weird, don't you think? And then they ask the scientists, they're like, how did this, so wait a minute, you work at the Wuhan respiratory coronavirus lab. How did this happen? And they're like, a pangolin kissed a turtle. There's been an outbreak of chocolatey goodness near Hershey, Pennsylvania. What do you think happened? Like, oh, I don't know. Maybe a steam shovel mated with a cocoa bean. Or it's the chocolate factory. Maybe that's it.
Yes. So that was Jon Stewart. We all applauded that, right?
But that's not the Jon Stewart we got from his show. His show was just it has been, it's still on the air, has been just a bit too...
Woke?
That's not the word I want to use. I should have thought about this
Smug?
in advance. No, I don't even necessarily think it's smug. I can't tell if it's just a little too... Come back to me on this. I need to think about it.
Okay.
I'm thinking about the same thing because I watched it and it was like I watched like several episodes and where there were really great moments, there were also moments of just sort of like,
Maybe,
cringe?
okay, here's the word that, okay, Philip, what do you think of this word? Pedantic?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a little too pedantic where it's like talking down to you because...
That's what I said, smug. Okay, you said pedantic.
Pedantic is not
we've
smug.
got combative, pretentious coming from the chat.
Pretentious.
So,
how about this? Let me play this clip, and you tell me what this clip means to you. This is his show, and again, this could be why his show is a ratings flop.
And thus, the problem with white people.
Let's applaud that.
I'm just gonna...
But he's trying to be funny.
Yeah,
It's okay to say.
Okay.
I was gonna stop for a second and pose so you can get your memes out. Okay, there we go. Get a good picture for your clickbaits. For however sincerely we want to reckon and listen, the truth is America has always prioritized white comfort.
Okay, so then he had a panel, and I mean, it was amazing to watch because Twitter sort of exploded. They're like, what happened? Like, Jon Stewart suddenly going woke like a week after he's like in Washington.
I don't think it's suddenly, and I don't think that it's. I don't even necessarily. Sometimes things like this just don't lend themselves well to a TV panel. Sometimes I don't have a problem with really anything that he's saying, but it does come off as overly talking down to you as the problem. And I do think that some things are better off as a long medium post than like preachy,
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, he did the whole like Cory Booker interview, like where he,
Yes, the Cory Booker interview where he talks about how this farming bill to, bring funds into black farmers was blocked by white farmers in Iowa. And Cory Booker was like, well, I'm not saying exactly who did it. I'm saying it was not supported. I think Jon Stewart, he wants to be an ombudsman for everybody. And at this juncture, it is coming off as just, I think, a little too much. We used to have a joke in one of our newsrooms that like, oh, our producers won't let us do this, that, and the other because it's a little too smart. In TV news, you're told to only speak to people with an 8th grade education, no higher than that. So you can presume no level of intelligence beyond an 8th grade education. And I think that this show is graduate school level. I think that everything he says, you should be able to say and have a sincere discussion. I do think that he opens himself up for sincere discussion, but I don't think that TV wants graduate level.
I don't know. I mean, look, here's what the ratings show: a muted start. Social media audience for Stewart's show is smaller than its peers. Colbert, Noah, John Oliver, and Jon Stewart.
But also, we want him to say things that ring true but are funny, and it's not that funny, right? And so we're looking to him to make us cry because of the state of our world, but you can say it in a way that like, at least we feel better because we can laugh collectively. And that piece is missing. So
it also comes off, you want to do a whole segment on white comfort from a white guy who has a multi-million-dollar contract to do a television show. And,
well, he's Jewish.
So? Is he not? I mean, I find it, I don't know. I find it, so you do a whole segment, a whole show about how white people are essentially bad because we need to apologize for our whiteness. That's what the whole segment is. And you bring up a panel.
Okay, but I don't like how you just said that. Like, you can't say that. I think you should be able to say that and have a debate about that.
Okay, you can, but no one will watch your show. I guess that's what we're seeing in these ratings.
I'm agreeing with you, but don't say it like, oh, well, we're going to dump on white people. We can dump on white people. We can have a conversation. We should be able to have a conversation about white privilege. Okay. Absolutely, we should. But maybe we don't want it in this format.
Or we can have a discussion about systemic racism and actually talk about the pieces of the system that are actually causing the problems, but we don't. And
I think that he does.
No, he doesn't.
I think that
no, he doesn't. He's talking about woke agenda items that are not getting to the heart of systemic racism. And I think maybe that's part of the problem.
If you watch the whole segment, he talks about systemic racism. He talks about how it's a different experience for other people than it is, that it's racism is a different experience based on your skin color.
Okay. Well, anyway, his show's not doing well. And
right, but I don't think it's because he's woke. I think it's because the format is not on brand for him.
Okay, and that's a fair criticism, and it might be right. Like, people tune in to, I mean, are people like signing up for Apple TV Plus so they can see Jon Stewart? In another world, I might have. Like, if I knew he was going to do a Daily Show style show where he would make me laugh, he would also like point out some of the hypocrisy of the world. I think that's what drew me to him, right? I think that, calling out the hypocrisy of journalists on both sides. He wasn't afraid. And I think that maybe that's what's missing here.
Yes.
Right?
Maybe, yeah. But you have to applaud someone for trying something off-brand if that's what they want. Maybe this is his passion, and not everything's a home run. So I had a show about reviewing baby gear, like Consumer Reports. Wasn't a big hit, but I tried it. So
did you have more subscribers than Redacted?
No, I did not. It was called Crash Test Mommy, and you can still find it on YouTube. And where I had small babies at the time, and I had just come from CNET, so I was a tech reviewer. So I applied like tech review to like baby strollers and cribs and things like that, and talked about which ones you wanted and which one, car seats and all of that. But, sometimes people try things off brand and it just doesn't work in the format. And I don't think there's anything wrong with what he's saying. It just may not work for whatever reason.
I did board game reviews.
You did?
On YouTube, yep. I don't know if you can still find them because I think I may have got rid of all of them.
I would pay for that.
Board games.
I think there is a problem with what he's saying. I mean, again, it's a talk show, and if what he were saying resonated with people, it would be much more successful. And I think people don't want to tune in to see about how bad white people are. I guess that's the bottom line. You're going to watch.
That is completely reductive. There has to be a way to talk about white male privilege.
Okay. Perhaps.
Yeah, maybe it's not this
maybe
format,
it doesn't
but
come
I don't
from
think
a white privileged male. Maybe
right,
that's where it doesn't have to come from.
but then when it comes from someone of color, right, then it matters less.
Why?
I think it matters. I think it matters for someone who experiences white privilege to say so. And it matters that everybody should say it.
Okay. So maybe he should just donate all of the money that he has to...
You're being diminutive. Like, he should not say this. He should say this.
Okay. Why should he say it?
Because he feels passionate about it.
Okay. And I'm saying that if he feels so passionate about it, then he could take the money that he makes from this show and he could donate it to causes that...
Maybe you don't know that he's not doing that. But at the same time, he feels passionate enough to speak out against something he observes. Let him say it. Well, why can't he say it?
He can say it. His show just won't be around for
okay, but we shouldn't diminish it. Some people should just say things they're passionate about. He's doing it in a non-confrontational way, in his own format that people can choose to watch or not, and people are choosing not.
Bagels. I'm passionate about bagels.
You're being...
Stop telling me what I'm being.
I don't appreciate your attitude towards this.
Then you don't have to listen to it.
You are being a smug asshole.
I am a smug asshole.
Yes. This we agree
You don't have
upon.
to listen to it. And you are a pretentious a-hole. You are as equally pretentious. See, if I say anything else, then I'm going to get in trouble.
Sure, I'm not pretending anything. I'm speaking out for his right to say that white privilege is a thing.
Okay.
And you sort of rolling your eyes like, oh, he's saying white privilege, comes off as ignorant, as if you don't believe that it's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing that should be discussed. And just because in this format it doesn't work, or just because you don't like the tone that he's using, or it feels a little pedantic, doesn't mean that it's not a topic that merits conversation.
Okay. I agree.
Okay, so then don't say, oh, what? Oh, he's talking about white people. That's why we all hate him. Like, that's...
We're getting a lot of comments like mom and dad fighting, and
It's not, the newlywed game.
Newlywed game.
All right, we won't fight in front of you.
I just don't feel like I'm not going to want to sit down and watch a whole show about that.
You don't have to, but you should defend his right to do it.
Okay. He does have a right to do it. He can do it in his house. He start a YouTube channel.
And it's not for you to say, if he really cared about this, he would, blah, blah, blah. That's a dumb thing to say. Like, you don't know how he's going to express his passions that he cares about, that he wants people to think about.
Okay.
Okay. So don't say that anymore.
Well, you can tell just based on these ratings that a lot of people care about this. A lot of people care about this. But hey, I know a lot of people who care about what we think here on the show, and I really appreciate it. That's why our ratings are like 5 times as large as theirs. So hey, that's good news, because we cover stories that are important, I think.
Okay, but then we need to make a discussion about, like, sort of pooping on other people's take or passion projects. When we talk about freedom of speech, and then we're like, yeah, but look what Jon Stewart does.
Coming up later, we're going to spend an hour talking about white privilege, and I'm going to bring on a guest of white people, a group of white people, to tell you about white privilege.
I'll be here.
Well, we don't have to do that right now, but we can do it in another time. Sure.
Okay, we can do it tonight after the show. We can invite a bunch of people over to our house and have a white privilege discussion. See how many people...
Stop poking fun. I really don't like it.
Some people will run for the door. I know. I'm just poking you.
But you're making yourself seem like you don't actually think it's a thing.
This is a whole other can of worms, and this
is
not.
It is. So then don't open yourself up to it, because you are not a person who thinks that white male privilege is not a thing. So...
Okay. It is a thing. White male, yes, it is a thing. And systemic racism is a thing. And redlining is a thing. But when you turn it into a comedy sketch where you lecture other people about their current state of affairs from a rich white guy on a multi-million dollar
I don't think it's a
streaming
comedy
platform, it doesn't work, and no one wants to be sat there and lectured to by people like that. That's my point. And apparently other people agree
William
with me.
Julius Wilson, then you tell me how we combat systemic racism. If someone who is actually passionate about change, social change, can't do it on their own platform, then where? Then what is the appropriate way?
Parenting.
Get the heck out of here.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If we have that discussion, I'll just bring my daughter on, and she will go off for a good 45 minutes because she's 15 and lives in the Pacific Northwest. She will tell you. She will
Exactly.
tell you all about it.
Oh, I can't. Yes. Let me get some nachos for this. Let's have a deeper discussion.
And she will single-handedly take down white privilege, capitalism, and I'm sure there's something else in there. It'll just all like come into in nonstop. Yeah.
All
she
right.
won't even inhale. It's just one breath.
Okay.
45
and
minutes.
we will not diminish what anybody has to say. If you want to be about freedom of speech, you have to be about freedom of speech.
Hula Hula says, I know someone that's not getting some action today. Actually, this is when I do get action.
Stop
This is when I do piss her off.